All right, listeners, ready to dive deep? Today, we're tackling a phrase that I just love.
Oh, yeah.
It's so wonderfully quirky. Bob's your uncle.
Mm.
It sounds like something you'd hear in like a Lewis Carroll book,
Yeah.
but it's actually like a staple of British English.
Right.
So if you've ever heard this phrase and been like, wait, what does that even mean? Or if you just, love fun facts about language,
Yeah,
then this deep dive is for you.
for sure.
And our source material today is this great podcast called Say What.
Okay.
They explore the history of everyday phrases, and this is one of their best episodes.
I can see why.
So before we get to Bob and like his mysterious uncle,
Yeah.
let's start with the basics. What does Bob's your uncle actually even mean?
Well, it's a phrase that tends to leave non-Brits scratching their heads.
Yeah.
Who is Bob and why is he my uncle?
Exactly.
But at its core,
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle means something as easy peasy or simple or straightforward.
Like, voila.
Exactly like, voila, or, and there you have it.
Yeah.
Job done.
It's like if I were giving you directions, I could say, turn left at the pub, go straight for 2 blocks, and Bob's your uncle. You're there.
Precisely.
Okay. But now the real intrigue. Like, why do we say this?
Right.
How did this phrase even come to be?
Well, the most popular theory takes us back to the late 19th century and the world of British politics.
Ooh, political intrigue.
That's right. Picture Victorian England, top hats, horse-drawn carriages,
Huh?
and this really influential figure,
Okay.
Robert Cecil, who's also known as Lord Salisbury.
Lord Salisbury, okay.
Yeah, and this guy was prime minister 3 times.
Wow.
Which tells you something about his power, right?
Yeah, 3 times he must have been quite the character.
Oh, yeah, he was. But along with his achievements, he was also known for something else.
What's that?
Nepotism.
Oh, no.
Especially when it came to his nephew, Arthur Balfour.
This is where Bob comes in.
Yeah, Bob is our Lord Salisbury. And in 1887, Lord Salisbury appointed his nephew to this really important job,
Okay.
Chief Secretary for Ireland.
Uh-huh.
The problem was, Arthur
Yeah.
wasn't exactly qualified.
Wait, you're saying Bob just handed his nephew this powerful government position just because he was his nephew?
That's exactly what happened. As
Okay.
you can imagine, it raised a few eyebrows.
I bet.
And so the public perception
Yeah.
was that Arthur got the job because Bob was his uncle, plain and simple.
Talk about having connection.
Right.
So people started using Bob's your uncle sarcastically
Exact.
to point out those situations,
Right.
where somebody got something just because they knew the right person.
It became this way of saying, like, oh, of course he got the job. Bob's his uncle.
So it started as a cynical quip,
Uh-huh.
but then how did it become this, like, general expression for something being simple?
Well, that's the fascinating thing about language is how it evolves. Over time, the phrase lost its sharp edge, and it became more playful and lighthearted. It went from being about nepotism to being about ease,
Okay.
about how easily things could be accomplished
Gotcha.
if you just had that connection.
So instead of, he only got that because Bob's his uncle,
Right.
it's now more like, wow, that was easy.
Exactly.
Piece of cake.
Yeah, and you rarely hear it with any sarcasm anymore.
Yep.
It's just a genuine way to express, a simple solution or a successful outcome.
So like a linguistic high five
I like that.
when something works out perfectly.
It's a way to celebrate like those aha moments, when things just click into place.
Yeah, yeah, okay. But how did it go from this, political jab
Yeah.
to like common everyday speech?
Well, I mean, think about how slang evolves in general.
Okay.
Like it often starts in specific groups or communities,
Yeah.
and then it kind of spreads organically through social interactions.
So maybe people started using it, just in conversation,
Yeah.
in pubs at gatherings, and just caught on.
Exactly, like word of mouth. It became this shared linguistic quirk, a way for people to, connect with each other.
And from there, it's hopped, skipped, and jumped its way into
Yeah,
like, all sorts of cultural things.
it really has.
We've got pubs named Bob's Your Uncle,
right.
trivia games based on the phrase, even book titles.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's fascinating how this phrase, that came from
Yeah.
a specific event in history
Hmm.
has become like this
Yeah.
cultural touchstone.
It really has. And it's not even just in the UK anymore.
That's right.
With the internet and globalization, it's like
It's spreading.
everywhere you see it online and social media.
Yeah.
You even hear in casual conversations,
Mm-hmm.
like here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely noticed it more and more.
I think so too.
And it's charming.
Right? Oh, yeah.
It adds this whimsy to language.
It's like a linguistic wink.
Yeah.
Like, language doesn't always have to be so serious.
Right.
It can be playful and quirky, even a little nonsensical.
Right.
And I think that playfulness is part of why it's so appealing.
It's refreshing. Right?
Yeah.
But, okay, speaking of fresh air,
Okay.
I think we need to take a little detour
Right.
into linguistics.
Okay.
Because there's another theory about the origins of this phrase
Oh, really?
involving this thing called Cockney rhyming slang.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this?
Of course, it's a fascinating linguistic puzzle.
Yeah.
And it might be connected to our phrase.
I'm all ears, tell me more.
Okay, so it originated in the East End of London,
Okay.
and it's known for its complex wordplay.
Uh-huh.
So you replace a word with a two-word phrase that rhymes with the original.
Oh, so instead of stairs, you'd say apples and pears.
Exactly.
That sounds confusing.
It can be,
Yeah.
but it's also fun. And it was originally a way for people to communicate in code,
Oh.
especially among, like, market traders and stuff.
All right.
But over time, it became more of a cultural identifier for Cockneys to kind of distinguish themselves.
Gotcha. So where does Bob's your uncle come in?
Well, some linguists believe
Yeah.
that it might be a corrupted version of Cockney rhyming slang.
Interesting.
We don't know exactly what the rhyming connection is, but the playfulness of it and the use of family members
Right.
definitely aligns with that style.
So we have the Lord Salisbury story, but maybe it also has these roots
Maybe.
in this Cockney rhyming slang.
Right.
It's really interesting.
And it highlights how language is constantly evolving,
It pulls from all these different sources and creates something new.
Exactly.
So there's more to this phrase than meets the eye.
Yeah.
And digging into its origins connects us to
Yeah.
history, culture, social class.
It really does. Yeah, it really is like an archaeological dig,
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Brushing away the layers of time and usage to uncover these linguistic gems.
Okay, so speaking of gems,
Yeah.
I think it's time to bring our exploration full circle
Okay.
and think about what Bob's your uncle teaches us about language.
Right.
You've talked about its history and its evolution
Yeah.
and its cultural impact, but what are the bigger takeaways?
Well, one thing that stands out to me is
Yeah.
just how dynamic language is.
Uh-huh.
It's constantly evolving,
Right.
adapting to the needs and whims of the speakers.
Like Bob's your uncle started out as this negative comment on nepotism,
Right.
but it completely changed
It did.
into something much more playful.
Yeah, like meaning isn't fixed.
Yeah.
It's fluid.
Right. And the way we use language is constantly being shaped
It is.
by social trends and cultural shifts
Uh-huh.
and even political events.
Exactly. And Bob's Your Uncle also shows us
Yeah.
how language can work on different levels. Like, literally, it doesn't make sense, but
Right.
we know what it means.
Exactly.
It gives us this feeling of ease,
Yeah.
like a problem being effortlessly solved.
It's almost like shorthand
Uh-huh.
for a shared experience,
Right.
a way to connect with others,
Yeah.
even though the phrase is kind of absurd.
It is absurd.
Yeah, and it reminds us that language isn't always about,
Right.
precision and clarity.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about
Yeah.
conveying emotion or sharing cultural knowledge
Absolutely.
or even humor.
Yeah.
And Bob's your uncle does all of that.
It does.
It's nonsensical but effective.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It really shows the power of language
Yeah.
to evolve and adapt and surprise us.
So the next time you hear Bob's your uncle,
Yeah.
remember you're not just hearing a phrase.
Uh-huh.
You're tapping into a whole tapestry
Yeah.
of history and culture and language.
You're part of a tradition that spans generations and continents. It's amazing.
And maybe someday Bob's your uncle will be a global thing,
I like that.
understood by everyone.
Yeah,
Imagine the world united
that would be soft.
by this quirky phrase
It would.
that came from British politics.
That's a great thought.
But for now,
Yeah.
I'm glad we took this journey,
Me too,
explored
please.
these stories,
Yeah.
and just dove into this strange world of language.
It's been fun.
That's what the deep dive's all about.
That's right.
Satisfying our curiosity,
Yes.
expanding our understanding,
Uh-huh.
appreciating the power of words.
Well said.
So until next time,
Keep exploring.
keep questioning.
Keep questioning and keep embracing
Yes.
the delightful complexities of language.
I love it.
And remember,
What's that?
Bob's your uncle.
Ah.
There's always something new to discover.